and so that you can isolate them, that specific phenotype, that look that you know looks similar to some of the Nigerians, and try to weed them out. And unfortunately, for some of the Japanese that were kept in those encampments, it is our theory that, that wait a second, holy cow, my phone just glowed pink. Did someone just do something? I've never seen it do that. You didn't just see what I'm okay, I'm gonna keep going. I think that's them. That's wild. You didn't see it. I'm kind of bugging out. I'm sorry. I'm geeking right now. I'm geeking. My whole phone, it does it like if you put certain things, my whole phone turned pink as I'm talking about it. Pick up some Nigerians in the motherfucking house. So let me continue to cook. So we had the Japanese that were in encampments. Now, why this matters is because later on there was a YouTuber, big, and I was frozen. So it froze too? Holy cow. Okay, okay, I'll keep going. Did you guys hear about the Japanese in encampment? Put a 13 if I did you hear that? When did they I don't know what you didn't hear. Okay, let me keep going. Did you hear about did you guys okay, I'm gonna keep cooking, keep cooking. My daughter says that. I love when she does that. It's so cute. Okay, they put them in encampments, and I'm telling you this because you're going to see the connection to why United States and other countries will vilify specific origins and certain people and certain nationalities and why they do it. It's really, and they'll give you an excuse for another reason, but it's not what you think. So they put these Japanese in encampments, and they after the encampments they were released, the Japanese were released, a lot of them were given bioweapons that gave them cancer later. They were given and you know, I don't know if you realize a lot of times certain foreigners will come in the country and they will suggest they get certain weaponized bioweapons be called inoculations, and it's really time release cancers and you know, diseases that they will get, you know, after a certain period of time when they're here. You know, and it depends on the nationality you come from. They'll give you a certain kind of, and this is, you know, my opinion. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and I'm not qualified to say this. This is in my opinion from what I've noticed and observed myself. So after many of the Japanese were released from them, a lot of them got some, at least some that we know personally from someone we know, two of them specifically got cancer, a specific kind of cancer at the same time. So we know that during the time that they were in these encampments, they were giving them bioweapons and releasing them into the population. And then later, a lot of them died earlier than they should have because of this, my opinion. Okay. So when they released the Japanese, we didn't know. And I could tell this when I'm like in Brazil, because I always just a question, like, how come in Brazil was there a population, like big up to my family in Liberdade. I love Liberdade in Brazil. It's in São Paulo. If you don't go to some, if you never go anywhere, it's such a beautiful community. It's in Liberdade. It's in Brazil, in São Paulo, and it's a Japanese community. And it holds Brazil holds the third largest Japanese community in the world outside of Japan. I don't know if you know that. It's a fun fact. Teach your children, give them some fun facts. It's great for you to give new information to your children so they're not totally brain fogged by all the false narratives that their textbooks, well, we don't get textbooks anymore, the technology in their schools tell them, which is a lie. Okay. So they're the third largest community in Brazil. But also I had a C-star who was on a channel in Mexico, and I used to watch her because she always talk about she's Mexican origin generationally, but she married an Englishman. She talked about what it was like to relocate to Mexico, and she decided to do a 23andMe genetic test. Now I'm cooking, y'all. I'm gonna get to the Nigerians. Just wait, you know, let me get the information in there so you can understand overstand where I'm going. So one day on YouTube, she decides to do a 23andMe test. She's Mexican origin. She just wants to know like different things. She was always told that she looked very Asian. But you know, she just wanted to know the different origins of the type of native Hispanic that she was, like native Mexican that she was. So she did the test, and lo and behold, she got a shocking reveal that she had about 30 to 40% Japanese in her. Now, here she's saying to herself, Where did the Japanese come from? She has been generationally living inside of Mexico. No one has ever been to Japan. No one even knew anything. And then someone in the family says, ah, there was an aunt, I think it was aunt or abuela. I think it was an aunt or abuela, or like an auntie kind of abuela, who had a name that started with a K, which is very reminiscent of the Japanese names, like Kekega, they have Ks on their names. And that in itself lent to the person brought in. But it couldn't have just been that aunt, because 40% Japanese is saying that there's a lot more Japanese within the other family members who contributed to that high DNA count. That's a large amount of DNA to be Japanese, but living in Mexico and being perceived as Mexicans. And why I'm leading you into this, because what is the other group that United States has vilified over the last 20, 30 years? It has been our amazing, our smart, and our most conscious group, which are the Mexicanos. So big into our Mexican family in here, which I've always talked about the fact that I found it very interesting out of the whole Latin community, that the most consciousness I've ever experienced, coming from a Latin background, from my French background, coming from the other Latin diasporas that I travel into, the most consciousness I've ever experienced has been from who, y'all? The Mexicano people. And when we go into the Incans and the Maya and all the other groups, now it started to ring that the consciousness that was denoted and the targeting and the marginalization and the demonization of the Mexican people was perfectly and purposefully geoengineered by Willy Wonka systems, because they understood that there was a group of Mexicanos who held some of this alien DNA. I'm not saying that the Japanese is a DNA, but I'm saying that it's the Asian DNA that they had was very much probably connected to the Iberians that had hidden within the groups of Mexico. And that's why they wanted to vilify and marginalize. And they have been doing this for a long time, because they knew, even though they could not decipher friend from foe, they wanted to make sure no one truly felt comfortable, or the Iberians that were sleeper cells, that were basically scouts living amongst us, were not going to be as accepted coming into the country. Are you seeing what I'm going here, y'all? You see what I'm going? So here we go, y'all. Now we're in 2025. We have just witnessed, I started maybe 6 months ago, the visual manifestation of orbs coming out of the sea. Hold on, y'all. I can't see. I can't read all the comments now. I'm trying to read some of them. Orbs coming to the sea, and as a result of these orbs showing up, of course, Willy Wonka and his League of Doom have to give you another visual representation and give you a new terminology called UAP, unidentified UAP, unidentified aerial flying object, whatever they call it, whatever they call it, UAP, right? That's a new terminology. None of you have heard of it before. They're gaslighting us by telling us it was a terminology we've always used. Now, me coming from the UFO community, me being a staple in the UFO community, way more than 20 years, that wasn't a terminology ever used until 2024, around the end and the beginning of 2025. That was a new terminology that we heard. Now, maybe in NASA and other maybe places that, corporations that were into the field of studying space and all that, they may have used that terminology, but it wasn't something that wasn't a lexicon that we ever used. Okay. So once the orb showed up, they like to counter attack it, because they know that you're seeing something that looks supernatural. So what do? They release their own man-made reverse engineered technology that they've always had. And all of a sudden you saw all these drones, super drones. Some of the drones were witnessed looking almost half the size of a bus, like a huge bus that drives on a
Yeah, but there's some natural phenomenon of things that we're not able to really understand. And one of those are these plasmic discharges. You have spontaneous plasma discharges, which creates a ball effect, a ball of light effect, which scientists haven't even really started studying that. Big Operation Power is already on that. So within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to start hearing that conversation. implemented it. And I got this from some of my people that is in the higher ups. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, it's called plasma, spontaneous plasma discharge. This is something that happens on this universe, in this atmosphere, around the galaxy, that they can't really explain. They're not even understanding how that even occurs.
When did we ever see these drones? But the drones only showed up after. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The orb showed.
And a lot of these UAPs that we're seeing are not even real interdimensional crafts. They're actually man-made craft from re-engineered technology from about 10,000 years ago. We're talking about 10,000-year-old technology that has been re-engineered by our government today, and they got secret craft. They got a whole stuff going on. I mean, from Blackwater's Foundation to Los Alamos, Lockheed Martin just released their new skin. They got something that's called the skin ship. It's literally made out of some type of nanotechnology skin. It actually grows, it moves, it has, you know what I mean? It's weird. It's crazy.
Showed up first, and then as a counterattack to kind of psyop your psychology, they throw in something that they know you've never witnessed before, so they can all make it seem like it's
just like back in the day that we was having a Cold War during the Soviet wars, the Soviet Union days. They were having a secret war of who can build the most weapons. Right now, there's a secret war right now amongst the shadow government, the interdimensional beings, and other governments around the world. Are having a tech war. Who can create the best technology? Who's creating the best tech? I just got word that one of these car companies is going to be using magnetism in their vehicles. They're going to be introducing a new magnetism, some type of O2 oxygen separator combustion, using just magnetism in water. I heard that. I forget what car company it is.
And then
go check out Randall Carson's recent live stream. He goes into that.
As a counterattack to kind of psyop your psychology, they throw in something that they know you've never witnessed before, so they can all make it seem like it's all part of the same goulash. Okay, so thus you see all of these aerial things that are unidentifiable, so you assume that they are connected, and they aren't. One is a result of what shows up first. Okay, so those were probes. The orbs that we were seeing were probes that were set up. What activated the probes to be released is when your President Trump was placed in a position of power and presidency. It activated the probes to come out and to monitor the situation. And then also as a counter reaction to it, your Willy Wonka system is League of Doom. They released their hidden technology that has always existed that you may have not seen previously, and they put it up in the sky. Now, some of you remember they just kind of made it seem like it was only in New Jersey. That was a lie. The orbs were seen all over the world. Okay. Now I'm going to cook a little bit more because I got to refresh you and bring you back to things that they were doing that you may have not did not know were connected to what is happening now with the National Guard.
Now I want she about to put some shit together right here. I want y'all to really just walk with the sister. She's about to paint a very, very vivid picture and try to make some very, very close correlations. Now, do I believe it? I don't know, but it is quite intriguing. So let's get into it.
I did not know we're connected to what is happening now with the National Guard, that all of a sudden, these Asiatic men are supposedly doing psyops and shooting people. Okay, so let's go into that. So now we have this concept of we have these beings showing up. Wait, no, hold on. I was just cooking it. Hold on, like I lost my thought. All right, so now we have these orbs that showed up. They just said it was in New Jersey. Okay. Now, let's go a little further. Let's go about 2 months back. I know I'm going all over the place, but I'm giving you little pieces of the puzzle so that you can see the bigger collective picture of where I've came with the acknowledgement that what is happening now is a group of Nigerians have been activated as sleeper cells, and they're trying to make you see a certain people and vilify them because they want to use you as their scapegoat of finding them because they may not be able to identify them in a population of melanated people who have Asiatic features. Okay. So now you see in Times Square, we see this dastardly image of a brown woman, which was what, 7 feet tall? How large was the woman's image, a brown woman? You know, we had a lot of conversations about it, spoofing the image, saying, wow, you put a brown woman in Times Square. And in Italy, I think there were how many? There were 5. I think it was 1 in Italy, one in Times Square. Where was the other one, y'all? It was Times Square, Italy. Where was the other image? Do you guys know the other image? Let's see if you know where the other. Do you guys remember? Because I don't remember the other countries. I think was it UK too? There were 5. I think it was 5. See if any of you remember. How many were there? There were 13. If anybody can remember the Netherlands, okay, someone said the Netherlands. Can anyone, at least if you remember, or can you quickly look up and you could just put them inside of here? Because I don't remember which places. It just out of the blue, all of a sudden. Now, why does this matter? If the majority of the world hates brown women, just on social media, because behind closed doors, many brown women understand that we're fetishized. Every man has tried to covenant brown women. The number one woman that's being sexually trafficked and also used for organs is the brown woman throughout the planet. So for those who I'm saying this to, you got to realize what's on the outside social media does not mean what's on the back leg. Okay. So brown women generally are vilified all over the planet. They're mistreated by their own men a lot of times. They're mistreated by the environment, but they're definitely fetishized and they're utilized. So they demonize them publicly. They make it very hard for them to keep stability within family dynamics because they geoengineer men to have a hatred or dislike of them and fetishize other women so that they can leave them open to be attacked, kidnapped, and harvested or sexually trafficked. Okay? It's just a fact. And this is not something for conjecture. This is a fact. Okay. So look at the number one woman that is always kidnapped and used for either organ harvesting or sexually trafficked. It is the melanated woman. It's throughout the world. And you have to ask yourself why. Why would that be a woman that they do that to, but then they put statues of women, brown women all over the world? You don't like them. You talk about them. And you make videos with the most ratchet artists showing us in the most disdainful way that most brown women don't act like. But then you have the audacity to put images of these brown women out of the blue and illuminate them in the most mundane way. And it's not like you made brown women look beautiful. Like, the most brown women, that looks good. She's dressed up. She looks amazing. Her hair looks amazing. You just put frumpy brown women all over the globe as if we should. You got to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would you put these statues?
Right. Think about it. Maybe they know that the aliens is coming back is actually Black Americans or Black people. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? They like, damn, y'all been treating the Black people wrong this whole time. Really, they have. And so now they faking like they've been memorializing by creating these statues all around the world. Like, look, we've been promoting them and revering them the whole time. You know what I'm saying? To try to make it seem like, I don't know, man. This one
looks amazing. Her hair looks amazing. You just put frumpy brown women all over the globe as if we should. You got to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would you put these statues of brown women? If you're going to do it, normally you put the most illuminating images. Because I mean, when you see brown women who really like themselves, they done up. But you put frumpy pictures of brown women all over the globe, and you don't give us. We don't get context of that. You don't get context. What is the context of you doing that? Like, this is a woman that you don't like because everything on social media that all of your social media support is showing the least of brown women in the most dastardly way. And, big up to Lisa, who's also on my channel, who mentioned something like even the TV shows will have like housewives of California, LA or California, you'll have housewives of Atlanta, but no one on the housewives of Atlanta that's primarily brown women has husbands, but the housewives of LA that you're all lunars all have husbands. Do you understand? So they create the most dastardly imaging, make sure that all social media vilifies brown women, even though they're the most coveted and the most procured on the planet. And then you have the audacity to put these frumpy images all over the world. Why would you do that? Maybe because you knew something was incoming and maybe to try to buy time so that the beings, Nigerians who were coming to Earth, weren't seeing how cruel and nasty the planet had turned on brown women, the mothers, the matrons, the wombs of the world who birthed all nations into existence. You didn't want them to see that, did you, Willy Wonka? So what you did is you put the most dastardly, you didn't want brown women to feel good about themselves, but you wanted to make it seem like to other beings coming here, because they don't have context of how women dress. They just see a brown woman being illuminated statues, and they're like, oh, they're not hurting brown women. Look at these beautiful statues they have of them up, even not knowing that it's like a Cinderella story. Like, she's dressed in rags, you put them up, but in context to an alien, they don't see that. They just see images of brown melanated women, statues all over. So they think, oh, it's good. They must be treating them okay. And then I want you to remind you that also that there were also images in the Times Square. I want to still cooking of images of these brown men on the screens. Do you guys remember that? Let me see if you remember that. Does anyone remember the brown images of the brown men all over the screens out of the blue? It was in Times Square. They had these weird images. And again, after we get off of YouTube, I will post and remind you of the images that they showed in Times Square. Why this is relative, because I don't think that many of you understand and understand that it's all interconnected. See, because many people don't pay attention to everything. They just kind of compartmentalize it. And sometimes they don't interrelate things as being connected and why your governmental systems do things. And that will let you know that they are planning and plotting, but they're giving you imagery and non-context of things so that you don't put everything together. You're not spinning everything, relating it together. Okay, so you have these images of these men. It didn't look wild. It was brown men, right? Brown men on the images, and the brown men just look kind of odd. They didn't look like what we consider to be like earthly men, like earthy brown men of this modern time. It was like images of brown men, and there were no context to the images that they were showing. It's just kind of like images that were kind of a little bit subhuman, like a little bit odd. Their features were odd, the way that they looked. So I realized that most likely, now this is a theory, does not mean this is true, but I theorized that, is that they may have had an image of an ET that they may have collected, kidnapped, maybe killed, or seen and witnessed and knew that was one. So they put that image on the screen, what we have zero context of, but they know who that being is, to fool those others who are perceptually seeing the orbs, because remember, the orbs are now showing up. Remember, this didn't happen until after the orbs showed up, y'all. The orbs are a form of surveillance to the ETs, Nigerians who were coming in spatial distance, close spatial distance. So what they did is they started to erect things and show things and started to display things that would fool, or they think would fool, the others coming in. Okay, so I'm bringing that all together to give you context of why I know the Nigerians are here. So now we have all these things happening. No one understands the connection to them, but all of a sudden within the same week, maybe right before Lionsgate, was this at Lionsgate? No, it was on the day of Lionsgate. So the 7th, was it the 7th and this, I think it's the 7th and the 8th. On the 7th and the 8th, we had 2 shootings. One was a gentleman who they said was Japanese. Listen to me, y'all. I already cooked for you. So if you were here and you understand what I was discussing, you'll realize where I'm connecting this. If you see the image, matter of fact, I need to look for the image of you. Hold on, y'all. Give me one. I'm going to get the image for you because I want you to see it, because you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Hold on. I'm going to do this right now. Hold on.
Might be channeling in a little.
Hold on, I'm just putting.
Let me skip it up just a little bit.
The one of the shooter, both the shooters, the one that shot at New York, that man, and thank you, my love, for the donation. Thank you. And the other shooter, the 2 shooters, because we had them side by side, but I don't know where we put them. If you can get them, like the shooters, the two shooters, the Asiatic shooters. Can you send it, Yafi? You have it? Wait, maybe it's in our group. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I'm a little slow with technology. Forgive me. Hold on. I think we have it. Yafi said we have it in our group. Ah, thank you, Yafi. She got it. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Yafi's got one of the images. And if it's possible, Yafi, do you have the image of the other guy as well? Thank you. Yafi's got it, y'all. So I'm going to show it to you. Okay. Let me share. Okay, hold on. All right, I'm going to share this image with y'all. And then I'm going to discuss it. Okay. All right. Do you guys see the image? I'll wait until you, I'll make sure you can see the image. I know I'm a little delayed, so I'm just waiting until the image shows up on the delayed version, making sure you can see it. So when I see it, you can see it. Okay, there it goes. I think it's going to show up. Holy cow. It's not showing up on the page. Oh, okay, here it is. I want you to look at the image, everyone. So when I'm showing you the image right now, thank you, Demache. Demache has the other image. Thank you, Sea Stars. So why I'm showing you this image is I want you to look at this gentleman right here. Look at this gentleman. And I want you to see how he looks. Now, if you didn't know any better, remember they're saying that he's half Japanese. Listen, y'all, listen to me. He's half Japanese, right? And he's half brown, right? And they gave some weird old, remember I talked about the fact of the matter is they have an old image of him on a basketball and football. And in a matter of minutes, he does a shooting, and all of a sudden you have just very easily and last minute you have an image of him on a football interview talking about the last play of the game out of the blue. No, that was geoengineered. This is the image that they want you to be afraid of. So what they did is, this personally I know is a psyop. I know now it's a psyop. This person was geoengineered to give you an image of a Nigerian. This is how the Nigerians look. They look like Cambodians, Asiatic brown people. And they want you to see that the scouts that are here are very similar in Asiatic brown look. So what they want to do is they want to show an image that gets into the subconscious to people. So now you start to do the hunting for them. So now that in your subconscious, you're looking for a certain phenotype that matches the image of what is perceived to be a terrorist. Okay. So this is one of them. Let me get the other image. Hold on, y'all. This is him, supposedly. This is the same guy. So when you're looking at the image now, you're seeing him with the football picture. And this was him supposedly doing an interview that the government had, where they did an interview with this young man years previous to him doing a shooting. And luckily and just conveniently, he kills himself on the 33rd floor after he shoots 3 executives from BlackRock. Okay, so you do see his imagery. Does that look like an image of something that you normally see do mass shootings? And we talked about this before. When have you ever seen a brown guy who's an athlete? Because he's an athlete. This is what they're telling us, which I think is I personally think it's geoengineered. I could be wrong, but this is a geoengineered so-called image of a brown person who would literally put his life in risk and go and shoot 3 executives from BlackRock and kill himself for Gaza. Okay. Now, when have you ever seen brown people do that? Brown American people do that. Now they'll say he's half Japanese. That makes no sense. He's still raised in the United States. But why do I tell you that he's half Japanese? Why did they tell you? Why was that important? Because normally when they see brown people, they don't ever tell us what we're half. We could be half white. We could be half green. We could be half alien. They never say that. One drop of brownness, you a Negro. Okay. Anytime you've heard news talking about people, have they ever said they're half anything? They always tell us that we're black. You're black, this black man. They don't care if you're half Hispanic, half lunar, half green, half blue. When have they ever mentioned your ethnicity when it comes to brownness? They won't do that. But in this case, they had to mention that he was half Asian. Why would that matter? To the average lunar person, they can't tell the difference. Most lunar people may not be able to differentiate when we're mixed, especially with a melanin component, like a person who's Asianic. It's hard for them to sometimes decipher that we're mixed with anything. They just think we're another brown person. So why would that be something you mention? Okay, look at this young man. Do we have the other image of the other young man that did the shooting, that shot the do we have the other image of the other man that shot the soldiers? Do we have that? I don't think we have the other image. Hold on, y'all. There's another image that I had of the young man who was, Yafi, do you have the other image of the young man who shot the soldiers? Or Damashe, remember the guy who shot the soldiers? The one who shot the 5 soldiers at the base? I want to show you why this matters, y'all. And I'm going to tell you after I show you the 2 images why it should matter to you. And what they're intending to do is to psyop and to put a certain visual in your subconscious to vilify what they know to be the scouts of Nibiru that are literally walking around and they can't differentiate. And now I understand why Trump banned. Okay, wait, hold on. I think Yafi put the other image of. Oh, not him, Yafi. That guy's crazy too, Yafi. That's not him. Okay, here he is. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Damashe. I'll wait a minute and I'll show you the image. The guy with the Palestinian shirt. Oh, he look crazy. He has like a Palestinian shirt. No Palestinian is wearing that. Thank you, Yafi. That's not the one, but that's the other guy that they said was involved too. No, he's wearing a mask. He looks like he's wearing a mask. But I'm waiting till this image shows up. Give me 1 minute and it will show up. I'm a little delayed, so I may delay on this until I see it on the image. Thank you, C Stars. Thank you for this. Okay, I want to show this image right now. What you're going to see is the 2 images, another one. So what is interesting is that this was a gentleman who shot 5 other soldiers, a sergeant, 5 other soldiers on his base, supposedly. But what is the likelihood that another shooting within a day would be reminiscent of a look that looks very similar to the other gentleman? Do you notice the eyes and the ear setting? Let me get your comments on his look. You don't think it's interesting that he has also very Asianic features? His eyes are very Asianic in features. This is a Niberian, y'all. I actually think that they gave us a Niberian that they have seen, maybe they had captured or they know, and they are basically showing us these images to put that into our subconscious. Do you guys see the eyes? I want to see if you guys see it. Hold on, I'll give you a moment and let's see. Do 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 do. Okay. Now, what I'm telling you, y'all, is this is the Niberians are showing. The Niberians are on land. Whether these are actually Niberians that they have captured, taken pictures of, and proposed them as terrorists, okay? Because when you say that a sergeant has shot 5 soldiers and you haven't given context, why would he do that? Okay? Why would he shoot 5 of soldiers? And how does he have the capability of shooting 5 other men? I'm just asking for a friend. Okay? You don't think that 2 brown men in the span of 2 days doing a shooting and they both have Asiatic features, that's not shocking. Brown people have a variation of phenotypes. We do have Asiatic features, especially those of us who are more native to the Americas, because we mix with those who are Asiatic in the Americas that came afterwards. But the fact that you have 2 men with Asiatic features and all of the Niberians that I saw on the ship were Asiatic or brown and Asiatic and brown, it's interesting to me that all of a sudden we're starting to see these images of brown Asiatic-eyed males that are supposedly terrorists out of the blue. When have you ever seen brown men shooting up places and doing terrorist acts like that? Okay. I'm just asking, when have you ever seen it? It generally has to do with maybe something when brown people, we're talking about a collective and it's a generalization, but you have to know that certain groups of people or have more propensities of doing certain things for certain reasons than others. Okay. You have two people, and this is what you're seeing. Asiatic people. I actually think that they took images of what they knew were Nigerians, pasted them as criminals and terrorists, and are showing. I don't know if you think I'm crazy. I want you to look back at these movies like Eraser with who is an Eraser? What's his name? Not Bruce Willis, the Terminator. What's his name? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Go look back at movies like Eraser and other movies where when they want to Time Cop. What's the one with Sly? He played in another one. I think it was called Time Cop, when they show like these images of beings and they take their images, superimpose it. We got AI imagery all over the place. They superimpose it, they put it on television, they say that they're criminals, and now they created a whole criminal, even though they didn't do it, but they can superimpose it, make a green screen. With AI generation, you can make anything look real. Okay. So okay, I just wanted to show this image real quick. I'm going to take it off. Okay. Thank you, Yafi and Dalmache. This is what, let me show the image that, wait, I got to show the image that Yafi had though, of that crazy man. Wait, let me show you the crazy image that Yafi showed of the crazy man. I got to show this man. This is the one wearing the mask though. He has nothing to do with this, but y'all, look at this crazy man that they said was associated with the first man with the shooting. Now, does this look like does this look like a man who's Palestinian? He had an obvious Palestinian shirt. He looks wild. He looks like he has a mask. His eyes are all wild. I call fake on this. Thank you, Yafi, for this. He looks wild. He looks crazy. Okay. This is and he just so happened to smile for the camera. Look at the camera. He perfect look for the camera. Just look right into the camera so you can give them the most terrorist look, because all Muslims, and so you can make the public think that all Muslims look crazy and deranged, right? Give them that perfect Al Qaeda look. You know what I mean? Oh, they're all savages. This is like that's that picture. That's that picture. I just had to show that. It's a crazy picture. Make it that Willy Wonka, you're not fooling anyone. This is obviously a costume. This man would not be walking around in a Now, I'm not saying Palestinians wouldn't wear a Palestinian shirt, but it looks crazy. You can't lie. It looked like someone took, how you have like glue, like the cement glue we used to have in classrooms where boys used to sniff it to try to get high. They look like someone put cement glue and pubic hair all over his face. And then we're supposed to think this is real. I can't. Okay, thank you, Yafi. Oh, God. Okay, let me take this off. Okay, so why do I show these images? So I wanted to let you know that as soon as there was two shootings of these two Asiatic Nigerians, which I actually think probably didn't occur. I think it was definitely a psyop, geoengineered event, probably didn't even happen by those men. No one necessarily witnessed the men shooting. They just said that they shot. Now, I don't know about the soldiers. I'd have to get a little bit more background on it, but you don't think in a span of weeks, within days of each other, you see two Asian men shooting. Okay. And they show the images. Okay. These are Nigerians. They want you to see them a certain way. And then right after, a week after, during Lionsgate, they unleashed the National Guard. Where they unleashed the National Guard? Trump said he's concerned about Washington, D.C. being a drug-ridden, crackhead, homeless encampment around the White House. But it's interesting that your president didn't care about that in 2016. Did he really care about the homeless living around? Because I don't know if you've been to D.C., but D.C. got some hoods. It's a beautiful place. Like if you got some money, If you live well and you're middle class and above, that you probably don't experience anything. But for others who live around DC in the more sketchy areas, you've known there's been homelessness as an issue a long time. And I haven't ever seen one of these presidents ever take concern of cleaning up around the White House, because remember, having homeless people around the White House could also lend to having sleeper cells sleeping and pretending that they're homeless, and also guards against you going around areas where they have underground tunnels, where they have the trains going back and forth to Europe to leave Queen Lizzie and her Elizabeth and her lair of doom over there in Buckingham Palace with the bones underneath the castle. They don't want you knowing that. So homelessness has always lent to being a kind of weird protection so that people don't like snooping around because they would be concerned for their safety. So though you may have had that, it was never something that they ever stopped, right? But all of a sudden, out of the blue, your happy dandy President Trump has decided to clean up around DC. Remember, not only do they have it fenced up, but now he has unleashed the National Guard on these homeless people so they can probably be placed in concentration camps so that your hamburger helpers and your Burger King burgers and your McDonald's will have that awesome humanly taste that you just can't match. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, my love. Thank you for the donation. So it's interesting to me that he decided to unleash them right after the shooting of these Nigerians, supposedly Nigerians that are on ground. And then not only did he unleash the National Guard in Washington, D.C., he did it in Detroit, right? Chicago. Where else did he said? All these cities, and I denoted that each of the cities that he said he wanted to clean up happens to be places where there's a lot of melanated people. A lot of melanated people where perhaps these Nigerian scouts could find safe haven, and mix and blend in well with the native population. I think it's in Atlanta as well. Also, it will help to initiate the smart cities that are now going to be activated, some that are hidden and some that are already created to nicely cull the sleeping sheep into those surveillance camps so that they can be knocked up with MK Ultra frequencies, and they can be controlled or used as Soylent Green for the food in case you don't want to eat the worms and the bugs that they said that you need to eat. Okay. Your president has unleashed the National Guard in the hood to get rid of the Nigerians, y'all. They trying to find them. And what's interesting is now you understand why Trump blocked all of the African nations from coming in here, because it's bad enough you got some Negro ETs coming in this piece. You can't have more of them if you can't distinguish friend from foe. It's just like the conversation back in the days. You could not tell the difference between a Gentile, a Jew, and a Moor because they were all black. Black. So you got black ETs, I make jokes because Norman Bergman, who wrote the book String Makers of Saturn, talks about these tall extraterrestrials that were super, super black. Carrie Cassidy was triggered when she heard the word black because she doesn't want to associate anything higher, cosmic, anything that could have higher technology that's black. Because we just some cotton picking Negroes here, nigglets. You know what I mean? We don't do anything. We have no contribution to the planet other than just being fodder and sexual deviants and work slaves for y'all. You know what I mean? I'm joking, y'all. I'm being very facetious. But I make jokes about this because in and itself, you have to realize that right now is a magical time for some and not for none. This is a time that the Nigerians are here. I call out the fact that your government knows very well who is on ground, what boots are on ground, and they are trying their best to be able to decipher. They've made sure they had facial recognition because one thing which you noticed with the gentleman you saw, their phenotype is a lot different in facially. You can't notice it amongst all brown people because a lot of us have Asiatic features, but they do have some distinguishing differences that you can denote when you look upon them when they're giving images. That's why they gave us the images of those two brown Asiatic men to put that in your subconscious. And usually brown people won't really narrow that down to anything other than just being another brown person, but those who aren't brown might be able to distinguish that and start to subconsciously pull that in as as a terrorist kind of imagery that they can because I why they do that, and you ask, is because you can be the ones who do the hunting for them when they can't always find them. So they're going to weaponize the public, the unconscious sheeple that believe everything that CNN, ABC, CBS tell you, and they can use them as a way to distinguish friend from foe. They can have them doing the hunting and looking for those type of people so that they can try to find them. Now, I'm going to bring up something that many years ago you've heard me say, and I got this from a amazing civil servant. Big up to him. I don't say his name because I keep his protection. But I think many of you heard many years ago me speaking about a document that was given in his precinct at the time. And the document denoted, I have it on my heart. I shouldn't tell you where I have it, but anyway, I have it. I just haven't been able to get it out because I haven't used my computer in years, but I have it on my hard drive. And this was a copy of it's like a memo that was in the police precinct. And it was a civil servant, a cop, who gave it to me. And what it said is that there will be brown men, black men. Listen to me, y'all. Listen, I'm not making this up. This is, and many of you can fact check this because you remember I said this years ago. A lot of the old people who were part of my platform for many, many years, you remember me mentioning this quite often back in the days. Now it's relative. They had a memo, and on the memo it said that they were to be very careful and cautious with black men who showed superhuman strength, and that they were to shoot to kill. Listen to me. The black extraterrestrials are here. Listen to me. They said that there were these black men that would show superhuman strength. And that they would have the ability, that they weren't to hesitate in shooting to kill. Okay. Now, why would this matter? Because what we didn't know, and what probably the officers didn't know, and maybe some had witnessed, all these years we were seeing massive shootings of melanated men, like preempted. What if that was something that was purposefully put out in memos because they knew that there were beings here that were supernatural, that were extraterrestrial in nature, and they couldn't decipher who they were? So rather than trying to decipher, trying to figure out who's human and who's wasn't, if they showed any signs that were a little questionable, that's why they were told to shoot on sight and not hesitate. Now it kind of makes sense why all of a sudden, and I'm not saying it didn't happen before, but how many years was a memo like that sent out? How many years did your Willy Wonka system know that there were black ETs, scouts on ground, Nigerians walking around who could disintegrate them in a matter of moments? Now, there's one video that they show. We can't really prove it, but there's one video. Some of you saw the video years ago. I think I showed it. If I can get it here, I might show it again. I'm going to see if I could do it before we leave. Where they show the cop stopping. It's a cam. He's got his cam on. It looks legit because of the countdown on the cam. Like cop cams are a little different back in the days. It kind of, with AI, you don't know nowadays, but it looked legitimate at the time. This video was probably like over 12 years ago. So I don't know that it was fudged. But in this image, you see a cop is getting out to do a traditional stop, like a traffic stop. He gets out of the car and he goes. Now you could tell the men in the car are brown men, like at least the one who's driving. You can kind of tell by the mannerism, or you see him in the car. And then all of a sudden something happens and a cop draws back. He goes to draw, and there's a bright laser, and the cop is engulfed in this laser beam, and he's disintegrated, and the car drives off. Do you guys remember that video? Does anyone have the video? I have it somewhere. I got to look for it. Do you guys remember that video? That video is old. It's old. It's like, again, it's got the cam on, the countdown. That's why I think it's legit. And it was a brown man in the car, and the cop was disintegrated. It was like a bright laser beam, and it hit the cop. Now, one would say, well, maybe it was, maybe they did Photoshop and so on. It's an old image though. It's maybe I can't verify it totally, but I remember, and why I remember that video is because after the officer who I knew told me about the memo and gave me the memo, I had a copy of it and I took a picture of it and put it on my hard drive. I don't know where it is now, but it's on the hard drive. He showed me the memo. And ever since then, many of you know I've been referencing that memo that cops were told that there would be these black men. They didn't say females, they said black men that would show superhuman abilities, like qualities, and you weren't to hesitate shooting them on sight. Like you would just have to shoot them to kill. They did not say that you should that you could distinguish them and so on. So I'm wondering how long these memos were given in the precincts and how often was this produced to, and who were they giving these to? Like we need cops. Any cops in here? I know y'all are in here. The civil servants love some flibberone. Come on, you coppers, don't be afraid of me. I don't bite unless you want me to. Okay. If you have some confirmation of this, by all means, get a cryptic IP and just say, yes, Flibberone, you're correct. And don't say anything else. I don't want you to get in trouble or bring any heat to your family. But I am always open to you confirming what I already got some confirmation about years ago. I just need a update. And just letting me know that it's true that it happened maybe in your precinct. Just I won't tell anyone. Just I want the confirmation just for myself. Okay? Okay, so y'all, we got Nigerians on ground. We got black extraterrestrial scouts on ground. Your president has sent out the National Guard to all the hoods to make sure these black ETs aren't doing anything. And I actually think that Malcolm Jamal Warner might have been connected to some of this ET activity. I don't know. I just have a feeling that maybe there was some connection to why he was taken out or some things he knew, because word on the curb is that he was in connection to someone I know who's very much connected to the black extraterrestrials. Now, maybe it's not, maybe it was something else. Maybe it has to do with Bill Cosby. I don't think so. I think it's very close timing to when the shootings happen, them giving these imagery, certain things happening so that you can't decipher a friend from foe, and them being very nervous and making sure they don't have brown people in their administration. You don't think it's odd that Trump didn't have any brown people in his administration? It means, it let me know. And people say, well, there's not, why would he have during his inauguration, why wouldn't he have brown people present? Okay, you could say it's maybe they weren't in the party, maybe he didn't have anyone on site, maybe so on. But it was kind of odd that during the day of his inauguration, it was really, really a scenario, a visual of non-brownness that wasn't normal. Now, you could say, well, maybe his administration is just a lot more lunars. And so, yeah, a lot of times, most of the times it is, but you would see speckles of it. I didn't see any. And it made me know that they don't trust brownness, being that the Nigerians visually look a certain way and they can't decipher who is friend or foe, because the Nigerians have a very ambiguous brown people look. And they look, and according to some of the people on TikTok, bigger to some of the people on TikTok, they're saying that, I don't know who started it. I'm from the UFO community. I think someone started. They're saying that the so-called ETs look like African Americans. If that's what you say, but I think what they meant is, I think, because when I heard someone saying that, there was a whole bunch of videos saying, oh, the aliens look like African Americans. I actually think what they're saying is that they look Asiatic brown. The Americas, the people from the Americas in the Caribbean and South America, Central America, and in the Americas, the original people were dark-skinned, copper and brown with Asiatic features. Okay. So I think when the person is putting that out in the algorithm on TikTok, I actually think that they're actually, they're mentioning, they're kind of, I think they're just denoting a look that looks very American brown, that obviously has to do with the indigenous brown people that were here. So I think that's where they got that from. So we have that going on. And also, just a reminder, everyone, they have the new bioweapon that they released, the brain freeze, the brain fungus. It's already been released. China is unleashed it. But, like I said before, China also at the same time in the town they're saying, what is it? Disease Chickamauga? It's called Chicka Chicka. I don't know what it's called, like Chicka Chicka. It's a name that I can't really pronounce. At the same time, they had released this virus. Oddly enough, they announced that they just released and unleashed 6G. Did you hear what I said? They just said they unleashed 6G. What does that mean to you? Remember we discussed that a lot of the symptoms that people are having, and I know that some of you were so disturbed and try to fact check me. Don't play. Someone who was based in genetics. I mean, I could understand if you question other people with a little bit less medical background than myself. Okay. But, to try to debunk me from saying that radiation poisoning has a lot of the symptoms of the things that cucarachas did, meningitis does. It also causes a kind of what meningitis does. It swells the brain. And all these people that supposedly are sick in China have this new weird virus that came out of the blue again, where's it coming from? Maybe the initiation of new technology that has a lot of high radionic frequencies that causes the biological body to go into like a cytostorm and start to create a lot of white blood cells starting to be activated and starts to make the body go into like hyper inflammation. Could that be an issue? Okay, maybe I'm just, maybe I'm just making all this up. Maybe I'm just an idiot, a psychopath like the government, and I just make all this up. You can always fact check me, okay? Because now in China they have this new thing, and apparently I will share his video. I love this doctor online. He's amazing. He's from Jamaica. He's the one who's been following cucarachas, and they can't really get him offline because there's actually a physician who knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to share his information, his link. Afterwards. I haven't gotten permission to share it on here. I would have liked to share his video with you, but we're not really focusing on that right now. So apparently, also we did a radiation check. I did tell you that you should get the GG. What is it called? I have it on my phone. Hold on. I'll show you. I'll tell you the app. Oh, hold on. I'm getting a text. Hold on, y'all. Okay, hold on. Now, what we found out is that the so-called Legionnaires that they're saying has been let loose online in Harlem, in central Harlem. Many of you know my mother had Legionnaires years ago. And at the time, this is right before Cucarachis was released, at least in verbal cue. And okay, hold on, y'all. Okay, so it was right before then, and what I figured out, I gotta start taking more credit because people will act like I've never said anything and then take credit and act like I never existed. I want to take credit sometimes. I found out that anytime there was a spike in radiation in a specific area, then you would see a disease, what they promote as a disease or a virus pop up. So what I found out is when we saw there was a spike in Legionnaires, I went to look at my radiation map on my phone and found out that there was a spike in radiation in the area that they were saying that there was a certain outbreak of Legionnaires. So what I want you to start doing is looking in areas and seeing where there's a spike, and then you most likely will see a following of a so-called virus being exposed. I want to show you this video. Hold on. There's a video I want to show you, and he kind of speaks to that. I think I can show his video. That really the viruses that they're telling you are viruses, they're literally just radiation exposure. They're radiation spikes that are causing the body to display itself in what they would perceive or call a virus. But really in itself, it's being initiated by a spike in radiation. And it's really sad that while we were inside of our houses in 2020 and 2021, when they had us isolated and they were putting all these fiber optics, you got to ask yourself, like, if we're in a pandemic, right? and everybody's supposedly sick. Why would you have construction men working side by side overnight, constantly during the pandemic? Why would you have them putting up all this fiber optics under the concrete ground and also putting up all these new towers all over the place? If it was a pandemic, wouldn't you be concerned about your workers? Wouldn't you be concerned that they would sue you for putting them in positions of getting sick and putting themselves in arenas?
Man, shit, that's a good question, but at the end of the day, what y'all think about this stuff right here? What y'all think, man? I might even drop the link, man. Y'all gotta eat the meat and spin out the bone. She's dropping a lot of relevant shit that's making some good correlation. You feel me? Uh, Especially if you hip to this type of shit.
Diseases, and you would just believe it, and nobody could tell any difference, because once something shows up and pops in the body of multiple people, you automatically just assume that it's some sort of viral or some sort of super germ that's going around causing the effects. I mean, you do know that they have technology that can give people heart attacks and strokes, right? And you got to ask yourself, how would they be able to do that? How could they make a person get sick like that? How could people who've talked about weaponizing, using like a type of what is it called, like it's a triangulation that they do to a body. They can find you, triangulate you, and invoke and provoke a heart attack or a stroke. How could they do it to one person and not be able to do it to a collective? Okay, how could they not? If they could do it to one, you don't think they could do it to a collection of people? That's why I tell you, when you go out there picketing, and they love when you go out there and protest, they love it. Brown people, lunar people, when you go out there and protest, they love it because they could spray you with chemtrails, with all kinds of fiber optic little nanites that get in your skin and your nose, go right up to here, so that when they turn on the radiation, guess what happens? All those nanites, all the metal particulars, all they do is get turned on, start Wi-Fiing your brain, and start causing a whole lot of health issues. And your body goes into a cytostorm. And then you ask yourself, what the heck happened to me? Okay. A lot of the things that you're happening are weaponized technology that's doing that. And every time you're seeing all these people, I just asked you, don't think I'm crazy. I would just go and watch the radiation chart and see, whenever you see a spike in them saying that Legionnaires is there, meningitis is there, encephalitis, why don't you check the chart and see if there's a spike in radiation in that area, and see if that's where the so-called virus is starting to start to develop and start to show up. Okay, the Nibirians are here, y'all. And some of us, and big up to Alex, who also showed a lot of the Nibirians, their golden eyes are showing up as well. They're getting activated because we do have scouts and sleeper cells that are here that are now waking up to who and what they are. And they are also being hunted down by Willy Wonka and his League of Doom. So if you are a Nibirian, listen, I'm down with the Nibirians and the Andromedans. You know how I get down. So you know that me and you are here. But be careful, because they have a lot of scouts and sleeper cells in groups, and your family members. People can easily be convinced, especially with that, as expensive as the economy. Your Willy Wonka loves you so much that most people can't even afford rents and food nowadays, that if Willy Wonka offered your family member a good $100, $50 gift certificate, they offer them a PlayStation, they gonna sell you out, Nibirian. So I wouldn't trust anyone. Don't tell anyone who you are. This is an ET moment. You're going to have to keep it to yourself. Now, I will keep your secret, but you got to be careful with me, because they watch me like a hawk. Okay? So just be careful who you're around, who you talk to, because the CIA, the FBI, the AI holographic Agent Smiths are everywhere. They're everywhere. Walking, talking, setting you up for the get down. Okay, I laugh because we are at the end, y'all. This is the end game. Okay, if you hear If you survive, if you have good air in your breath and you have some more life in your biosphere, you have made it to the end game. You have made it to the finale. This finale is going to be interesting. You've got bioweapons, radiation and mass destruction. You've got pooping presidents, now, orange nuclear presidents. You got all kinds of technocrats that are trying to create AI to kill you. Like this is the video game of the year. And if you make it to that, you got to make sure that you keep your body healthy enough to activate the gates as soon as they open in order to create a way to exodus to wake up outside of the hologram. Stay away from needles, stay away from tattoos, stay away from bioweapon frequencies in certain neighborhoods. If you're living in the hood and you have a hard time and you don't have the means to protect yourself EMF wise, start to create kind of like a Fahrenheit in your house. You're going to have to do that because what's happening is that if you're living in urban areas, they pumping it up because brown people have more protection against radiation than others. So in brown areas, that's why when you drive through the hood, you feel like you have a headache. You feel like you get sick. It's because it's purposefully done. Prince even told you. Prince back in the days had a video. I think he was on the night, what was it? The Night Show? What was it? What show? It was I forgot who was on the show. Was it Leonard? Was it I forgot who was interviewing him. Anyway, he talked about like he would be playing basketball in Detroit, just playing with his homeboys, and then all of a sudden everybody's having a good time, laughing, giggling, what have you, and then all of a sudden there'll be a chemtrail plane that fly over, and then everybody's fighting, cursing at each other and everything. It wasn't just that there was a plane with chemtrails. It's not just that, it's a frequency weapon. So once the Magellans, those nanofibers get in the air, it works as like a magnifier. And once you have that magnifier work, all the metal that you've been breathing in from all the chemtrails is all in you, unless you did a nice little cleanser where you do a nice little metal cleanser, which you should do more often now. It would automatically turn on the Wi-Fi and would be able to control and manipulate your emotions. So if you're living in the hood, it's very important for you to understand that you are the #1 bioweapon target. They're not like us. Okay. And they know that brown people have a field of protection. That's why I told many of you to watch the documentary. It's very sad. It's the man with the hole in his head. The Mississippi boys, was it Alabama or Mississippi? I'm almost positive it was Mississippi boys, brown boys, that the parents thought they were doing an experiment for something else. They experimented with massive doses of radiation. And that's why I say if you trust your Willy Wonka, that's on you. They did the Tuskegee experiment on your people. They did the hole in the radiation test on your people. They put a whole bunch of stuff in the hood to see how you react. Okay, so the guy with the man with the hole in his head was a man who actually lived after being hyper exposed to radiation from your Willy Wonka government. Okay, parents didn't know. They gave consent thinking it was something else, and it created a hole in his head because that's how much radiation they exposed to this little boy. Thank you, B. Miles. Thank you for the donation. Okay. So when people say, oh, you brown people, you're so paranoid, you always think somebody's doing something to you, because they are. They're doing it to you too. They just do it to us in different ways. Okay. What they do to brown people on the outside, they do to others on the inside. Okay. So we're all being manipulated in some way or the other. Brown people are just usually used for organ harvesting and for sex trafficking. That's why they promote for a lot of lunar women to constantly want brown men. You don't think that's weird that all of a sudden over the last 15 years, you're starting to crave brown men in a way? No, that's purposefully being done because you're being manipulated to fetishize and to want to sleep with him so you can get the stem cells that his sperm gives you so you can get some melanation inside of you. It's a form of manipulation, but they're trying to do it so that every time he ejaculates inside of you, you gain some of his melanin and some of his DNA. But brown men are not very smart because they think that they're just having sex and fun, but meanwhile they're lending their DNA to people that they may not have wanted to lend their DNA to protect themselves from what the radiation that's coming up. Okay. And if she gets pregnant with your brown child, she will have even more melanation and protection for herself and that baby. These people are these are eugenicists, y'all. They know genetics very well. So they manipulate the brown men to do that. That's why the initiation and the ushering in to brown men sleeping with others came with, guess who's coming home to dinner? That was the initiation, saying, okay, it's okay. We're about to get to that time where the pole shift's going to come. We need to put mass amount of radiation. We need to make sure we don't kill everybody off. We got to make sure we get some melanation for some of the other people. So we got to make sure we encourage the brown men. So we make sure we keep the lunar women away from brown men. We make it seem like it's a crime for them to sleep. When every time a brown man looks at a lunar woman, he gets hung. But then when we take that down, then he'll start to think, oh my God, this is a prize. Now I can have her. Let me sleep with her. It's all for icks and giggles. Okay, it's all forms of social engineering. But brown men have not realized that their sperm is being used to uphold and to give others, some. And maybe you do, but you should know that your sperm is being used to give people stem cells, to give them DNA. That's why a lot of these countries are taking the skin off of melanated people. And how do you think that is being put on others? They're stealing the melanin. Okay. And big up to M, who talked about that. They used to say that the Anunnaki was mining gold. It was a psyop. The others were mining gold, and the gold was in the melanin and the skin of the people, because they have a protective quality that allowed them to be exposed to radiation and not be as infiltrated. Now, if you wanted to have more melanin, and you can't get it, then how do you get it? You get it by having sex with melanated people through sperm, stem cells, or you steal the women's afterbirth and you start to steal the stem cells from there. So you have the hood or you have abortions clinics on every corner of the hood, and you make sure you steal the baby's stem cells and the baby's, melanin. So you basically are getting free melanin all over the place, because brown people walking around just not realizing how magical their melanin is and how protected it is of everything that's coming in, and that it's necessary for you to have that to be able to survive what's coming.
Hey, so what y'all think about what y'all heard so far? I would like to know what you guys think about this whole ordeal. Are the black aliens, Niberians, interdimensional beings living amongst us? And is the government that is seeking to find them having trouble finding them because they resemble us niggas so much? Y'all let me know in the comment section. Keys on the track, on the track, on the track, on the track, on the track.
For the stats, I be beating the odds. In the blood, it be making me calm. Ride the turbines just like I'm Saddam. I'ma blow up just like I'm a bomb. I'ma leave it.